What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome back to How Do I Want to Do This? This is our series where we take a look at all playable options available to players in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and then we rank them on a scale of 1 to 10, and then build them together or fix them if they don't quite meet our standards. Now, today we are finishing up talking about the College of Glamour Bard, and we are going to be building one together. It barely passed our test, but it did pass, so we're going to be building one today. And I think this is a really fun build. It's definitely not the most powerful of bards, but let's be real, all bards are powerful. And so this allows you to exercise the side of you that your attractive side, your might I say sexy side. This is that bard, and so there's a lot of really cool ways to do this. We're going to pick just one for today and give you some ideas for if you want to make a character like this. Before we go forward, go ahead, leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. As you can see, most people who watch this video are not subscribed, and so please help me out. It's Christmas time, so it'd be really nice if you all would subscribe to the channel, help us get to 500 by the end of this year, and we'll see. We may have a celebration live stream or something like that coming. If we can make it there, we can make that happen. So let's try to get to that goal. We can get there more easily if you go ahead and share the video with your friends. It really helps me out. And of course, click the bell so you're notified of new videos when they are uploaded. This helps the algorithm so that more people will see the videos. So let's go ahead and see what we got for today. So today we're just going to jump right into the build. I don't think there's any need for any kind of other ado. It just all kind of comes naturally with this subclass. So for our race, there are three options that I was choosing among, and none of them were variant human or custom lineage, actually, which is great. I wanted to go with something Fey-ish, just because a lot of the magic in this in how this works is Fey related, and so I wanted to go with something like that. We will talk about the two that I did not end up taking at the very end of the video, but the one that I went with today is Fairy from Wild Beyond the Witchlight. I wanted to feature something from the new book, new-ish book. It's not the newest book, but new-ish book, and I think it's really cool. This is free flight speed as long as we're not wearing medium or heavy armor. We are not proficient in medium or heavy armor, so that all works out. Of course, we can customize how we do our stats, +2 into one stat, +1 into another, or +3 into 3. So we are going to mess around with that. But this is a really cool race. I think it's got a lot of really cool stuff. We get Druidcraft, which is a really cool spell. Basically Druid Prestidigitation, sort of. And then we get Fairy Fire and Enlarge Reduce. So these are all really great spells for us to just get for free, and we don't have to waste our time picking it up from another known spell list. So this is great. I love this. We also are a Fey creature type, which is very important. You are not a humanoid. So if they try to dominate person or charm person, it's not going to work on you. You are immune to those spells that target a humanoid because you are not. So keep that in mind. That gives you some unique immunity that other characters will not be able to share with you, which is really cool. For our stats, of course, we're using our modified standard array like always, and we're going pretty standard here. We're switching Constitution and Dexterity from what we normally do, but everything else is pretty much the same. We're putting our 17 into Charisma, our 15 in Dexterity, our 13 in Constitution, 12 Wisdom, 10 Intelligence, 8 Strength. We're going to put our +2 in our Charisma, and we're going to put our +1 into Dexterity, giving a +4 and +3 modifier respectively. This is a pretty great start. I mean, we are 1 away from 20, and we will get there eventually. Now, our Constitution is a little low, but we are going to improve it as we go, so don't worry, it'll work out. Now, we have been doing some starting with Sorcerer builds these past couple weeks, but we are not doing that this week. We are starting with Bard. So, very simple as far as how we start out. We, of course, get Spellcasting and Bardic Inspiration, just like all Bards do. And we get to pick 4 cantrips, and we get to overall, over the course of the entire build, and then we get some first level spells. So for cantrips, I would definitely suggest going with Friends, Minor Illusion, Vicious Mockery, and then pick your favorite for the other one. It's pretty open-ended as far as cantrips go. As far as first level spells, Basically what we're going for with this build is the charming person, the disguise person, the person who always looks their best. That's what we're going for here. So you always want to be able to look like who you are but better, or look like someone else but better. So I think that you've got a lot of options here. So I like charm person, I like disguise self, dissonant whispers, healing word, Tasha's hideous laughter. Those are all really good spells to take here at first level. As far as equipment goes, pretty standard stuff. I would try to get studded leather armor as soon as you can. It's not that expensive, so I would definitely grab that ASAP. And then probably grab a rapier or some other finesse weapon. And I would say probably work up to a hand crossbow. They are quite expensive, so it may be a little while, but I would try to get one of those as soon as you can. And of course, bagpipes. What could be more charming than a bard who plays the bagpipes? I don't know. I think that that's pretty much your only option here. So yeah, you got to take that. Then for skill proficiencies, this is one that I wanted to warn you about beforehand. We will be taking some multi-classing later, very little, but it will give us proficiency in both persuasion and deception if we choose to take a specific option. And so if you plan on taking that option once we get to it, then I would not take proficiency in those just yet because we can get it later. But if you do not plan on taking this option when we get there later, then go ahead and take those now. Those are definitely core to your character. So either take them now or take them when we get the next feature. Definitely take them at some point in your build. You will definitely need those. So then moving on to level 2, we get Jack of all trades, we get Song of Rest at a D6, and of course Magical Inspiration if you're using the Tasha's optional rules. I suggest using them. I think they're great, and this just gives you even more versatility with your Bardic Inspiration, which is awesome. Again, if you have not checked out my Bard ranking video, we go into detail on all of the generic Bard features, and so that will be up in the iCard above for you right there. So if I skim over a feature and move a little too quickly for it and you don't quite understand what it does, go ahead and check that video out first, and that should explain everything. If not, hit me up in the comments. Let me know what I'm not clear about, and I'll be sure to help you out with that. At Bard 3, we get our subclass, of course, and we get one of the best and one of the worst features of this subclass. We get our Mantle of Inspiration, which is fantastic, and we got our Enthralling Performance, which is not as fantastic. So Mantle of Inspiration, of course, is going to help you be an amazing Bard. It is absolutely fantastic. We discussed all of the upsides of that in our video earlier this week, so of course check that out in the iCard above right there. So yes, we have gone into deep discussion about that. And then Enthralling Performance just has too many stipulations for me to find it super useful. So we are going to be taking a feature later that will help out and give this a little bit more of a place to be used. But we will also have a different feature to fall back on for this type of effect. So we'll get there here in just a minute. We also get expertise in 2 skills of our choice. If you took Persuasion and Deception already, I would go ahead and expertise those out now. If you did not take them yet, I would just expertise 2 of the other ones that you took, because you get 3. And then I would expertise those 2 later once you pick them up, because we will pick those up before we get expertise again at Bard 10. So just keep that in mind. Then for this, we also get 2nd level Bard spells. So we get Calm Emotions. I think that this is one of the few subclasses that I will recommend Calm Emotions. I think that it's quite useful here. You could definitely make a friend by doing this, helping them in a tough time. You can take Detect Thoughts. I think Detect Thoughts is really good for this one, because then you can be super persuasive if you are reading their mind. I think that that's really good. Enthrall. Duh. This is probably one of the only ones that I would suggest Gift of Gab, but I think that would be very flavorful for this. Magic Mouth, you could take Nethair's Mischief. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know, but that's from the new book. That is from the Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, so I would suggest taking that new spell. That's a really cool spell. I like it a lot. Silence and Suggestion, of course, are also really good options. You've got a lot of great 2nd level spells here. I think that you should take as many of them as you can cram in there. For me, as we get to the higher levels, we don't get as many good spells. So I would suggest going back to second level and taking more second and third level spells. You get a lot of really good ones. So definitely look at these 2 levels of spells, and I would pull from those even at late level. I think they come with a lot of really good benefits. So now we're Bard 4, and we get the option of taking an ability score increase or a feat. Normally I would multi-class at this point, but I'm not going to just yet. I want to go ahead and blitz a little bit farther to get something else before we think about doing that. So we get an ASI or a feat. We are 1 away from maxing out our charisma, and we are at an odd number on our constitution. I'm ignoring that. Well, half of it. I'm taking a half feat that will max out our charisma, and that is going to be Fey Touched. Again, we are very Fey-minded in this build, and so Fey Touched was just kind of a no-brainer, to be honest. I love everything about this. It's great. It gives us Misty Step, and Misty Step is one of the best spells that we can have as a bard. In case we get into trouble, we can just go ahead and bop right out of there. Anytime you can get teleportation like this is amazing. So I think that it's going to be absolutely wonderful for us. And then we also get 1 other first level spell from a limited list of spells. I would suggest taking Bless here and using that as your concentration spell. I think that it's a really, really good spell. I think it really helps your team out. So definitely consider taking Bless there, but there are many other options, of course. And we also get Bardic Versatility. So definitely don't forget about the things that you can switch around when you are at levels 4 and so on with ASI or feat levels. Level 5, we're continuing with Bard, actually. I know I'm delaying our multi-classing a little late, but it's okay. I want to make sure that we get our Font of Inspiration as early as possible. And so we go ahead and upgrade our Bardic Inspiration to a D8, which is fantastic, and we also get Font of Inspiration, so now our Bardic Inspiration is so much better than it was before. So, love that. We also get 3rd level spells for bards, and there are quite a few. There are quite a few good ones. I'm going to suggest a few here that I haven't suggested before for bards, and those are going to be Catnap. I think that's a good one here. Fast Friends. Fast Friends is a really nice one, actually. Liamon's Tiny Hut. I love Liamon's Tiny Hut. That's just me, especially if you're traveling a lot. It's the perfect spell to take. Major Image is pretty cool. I like it. And Mass Healing Word, as well as Tongues. I think Tongues is super on the nose for what we are, for what we're trying to do here. Do not take Motivational Speech because it conflicts with what you already can do from your 3rd level feature in Mantle of Inspiration. It conflicts, so don't take that. I definitely do not suggest taking that on this because there's no point. Then level 6. We then begin to feel the presence of maybe a being from our homeland, from the Feywild. Maybe a not so nice creature, and maybe we want to extend our powers to help out those from our homeland. We're taking Warlock here. So keep in mind, Warlock has Pact Magic, so the spell slots work a little bit differently. We're technically delaying our spell slots a little bit, just because Warlock spell slots are kept separately from regular spell slots, but they come back on a short rest rather than a long rest. We're going to take 2 levels in Warlock, so we will get 2 spell slots rather, from this class, which is pretty cool, but they are both going to be 1st level. You can use either of these spell slots interchangeably, so you can use one of your other spells to cast something on your Warlock spell list, or your Warlock spell slots to cast something on your other spell list, but definitely keep them separated so that you can keep track of what comes back on a short rest and what doesn't. So we are going to take the Archfey Patron here at level 1, and we are going to get a very flavorful feature, which basically kind of replaces our level 3 Glamour Bard feature, just because I really don't like it. It's really not great, and the 6th level feature isn't great either, so I'm good with putting that off for a couple levels of Warlock. So we get Fey Presence, which is wonderful. It's an action, then they make a Wisdom save. So it cuts out the need to make this huge 1-minute performance, and you have to get all this stuff. Like it cuts out the need for that and breaks it down to an action of doing basically the same thing. Yes, it's supposed to be more intense if you use the other feature, but it's also because it takes a minute, and I don't think that that feature is very reliable. This allows you to just do it in combat, which is pretty great. So I think that that's a really good feature. I think it's worth taking these couple levels in Warlock. Yeah, we're definitely not doing Hexblade on this one, even though that's probably what you expected when you heard Warlock. Hexblade doesn't synergize well with this actually at all. We can't use medium armor or else we can't fly, and our weapons are very much secondary in what we're doing. Hopefully you've picked up a hand crossbow by now. I mean, you're level 6, so you're probably getting in that range where you might be able to afford one. So, you know, that's probably about as good as it gets. I mean, we're gonna improve our dexterity so that you can use that weapon, but your Warlock, we're getting Eldritch Blast now, so is there a need? Probably not. So I don't think you need to really worry about your weapons here. Your weapon damage is going to be negligible compared to what else you can do here. So level 1, of course, we can pick up a few cantrips here, just 2, that's all we're going to get here, and Eldritch Blast, of course. This gives you a very reliable way to do damage without having to worry about using your dexterity mod at all, really. It'll help you with initiative, it'll help you with armor class, but besides that, you don't need it for anything else. So if you can just use Eldritch Blast. But for flavor, if you would like to use your weapons, go for it. You've got them there. We also can take one more, and I would suggest either taking Mind's Liver or Mage Hand. Probably Mage Hand over Mind's Liver. I think that that's better, but Mind's Liver gives you the advantage of giving a negative modifier to saving throws, which we discussed at length last week in our Eloquence Bard video right there. That was a really heavily focused on saving throw kind of build. And saving throws are pretty important on this build too, but not until 14th level. So I'm not putting a huge emphasis on it in this build because you probably won't get to level 14, just most campaigns don't. So if you get to level 14, great, probably take some more spells that require a saving throw. Otherwise, you know, just kind of stick with what we're doing in this build. Then we also get a couple first level spells here. I would take Armor of Agathis here, and you can always upcast this using one of your Bard spells, and it's a really nice defensive feature. Gives you some temporary HP and then deals damage back when you are hit. So I like that a lot. I think it's great. Arms of Hadar is really great, and I also love Unseen Servant. I think that all of those are really cool. You can definitely be the distraction while your Unseen Servant takes the keys off of the key ring and does all kinds of other things. So I think that it's really nice. So then at the next level, we're going Warlock 2. And this is as far as we're going in Warlock, but I think we get a lot out of these 2 levels of Warlock. You always get a lot out of just one, but I wanted to go ahead and get some Eldritch Invocations because they're very useful, and there's not really a point in me going to 19th level for another ASI or feat. I think the invocations are more valuable, so I'm going to take that instead. So here, there are 3 that I'm going to suggest. We only get 2, so choose wisely. I like Beguiling Influence. I think that that's a really nice one. It definitely will be helpful in what you're doing here. We get Eldritch Mind, which would give us the ability to not have to take Warcaster, because now we have advantage on Constitution saving throws for concentration checks. Very useful. And then also I was looking at Agonizing Blast so that we can do more damage with our Eldritch Blast. I think that one is probably your 3rd most important, but it depends on if you took Deception and Persuasion earlier, because, you know, you pick it up with Beguiling Influence. If you don't want to take Beguiling Influence, then you'll have wanted to take it earlier. Whatever you want to do. Is it worth an invocation to pick up those 2 skill proficiencies? That's totally up to you. There are other options, but where we're not going very far into Warlock, there aren't very many that we can take. Most of them have a level restriction or at least a pact boon restriction, and we're not going far enough to get either of those. So yeah, we're kind of limited in what we can choose here. Now we're going back to Bard. Bard 6, level 8 overall. We get Counter Charm and Mantle of Majesty. As I discussed, I don't like Counter Charm. I don't like Mantle of Majesty. This really isn't that great of a level for us at all. Bard 7 comes with no new features, but it does come with some new spells that we can take, and I of course am going to suggest Charm Monster, Compulsion, Confusion, Phantasmal Killer, and Polymorph. I think that these are all really cool spells to take. I normally wouldn't suggest doing Compulsion or Confusion, but I think that they work really well on this build here. Then Bard 8, level 10 overall. We get another ASI or a feat. It has been a while since we have gotten one. But I'm gonna go ahead and suggest an ASI here. I don't think we need to take a feat at this point. I think we should go ahead and bump our dex to 18. This is going to help with weapons, but like I said, who cares? But it also raises our armor class and our initiative bonus, which is really great. Those are both obviously very useful all the time, so can't really go wrong with boosting dexterity. Bard 9, we get our Song of Rest up to a D8 and 5th level spells. So I would suggest Dominate Person, Dream, Modify Memory, Rary's Telepathic Bond especially, and Scrying actually. I like Scrying a lot, and I think that this is a character that knowledge is power, because that you can use to really influence who you're speaking to, and you can do that in a very charismatic way. And you being a warlock, you probably have a little bit of a dark side to you, and so I think that this is very, very useful in finding out information that maybe you weren't supposed to know. I like Scrying a lot. At Bard 10, our Bardic Inspiration goes up to a D10, and we get Expertise now, so if you took your Persuasion and Deception as part of your Eldritch Invocations, go ahead and Expertise those out now. If you did that already, then choose 2 more that you like. We get Magical Secrets though now for the first time. I have a lot of suggestions here. You only get 2, unfortunately, but you could also sub these in later on if you wanted to. Counterspell, Haste, Shield, Find Familiar. All of these are standards. I really like Find Familiar here. You have a Fey creature that is your friend. I think that that's really good, and I think that that really fits what we're going with here. Summon Fey, of course, you get to summon a sort of weak Fey creature, but it's decent. It's not too bad. I like the spell a lot. We're definitely going to want to take Conjure Fey later, so you may want to put off Summon Fey and take Conjure Fey later, or take both if you're really wanting to lean into that Fey magic. I think you've got those options there. Zone of Truth is one that I think is take or leave, but it depends on if you feel like you're going to be doing a lot of interrogating. I think Zone of Truth is a must, but you know, it's up to whatever your specific campaign calls for. Bard 11, level 13 overall. We get 6 level spells, and that's it. No other features. I only want 2 of these really, so that makes it kind of easy, I guess. Mass Suggestion and Auto's Irresistible Dance. I don't really have the need for any of the other ones, to be honest, and they don't really feel on flavor. I find that the higher level we go with these, the less spells make sense with this subclass. A lot of them are the lower level spells, which is good. I mean, you have more spell slots to use on those spells, but just, you know, keep in mind a lot of your low level spells are the ones that are going to be really fitting your flavor. Take the high level spells in order to have some powerful spells, obviously. That's why you're a bard. But just keep in mind for flavor, it's going to be your low level spells for sure. At Bard 12, we get another ASI or a feat. And the odd number of Constitution is bothering me at this point. I know it's a little late to finally be dealing with it, but I was looking through the feats that would help with Constitution, because putting a +2 in Constitution feels wasteful. So I wanted to go with maybe a half feat. So we're going to go with Resilient and choose Constitution as our stat. So we get a +1 bonus to our Constitution, putting us at a 14, which is a +2. And we also gain proficiency in Constitution saving throws. So now we have proficiency, and if you took the Eldritch Invocation, we have advantage, which is fantastic. So there really is no need to take Warcaster here, and I think you're getting much more bang for your buck with Resilient in combination with the Eldritch Invocation. So no need for Warcaster on this build at all, which is really cool. Bard 13, Song of Rest goes up to a D10, and you get 7th level Bard spells. You get Force Cage. Always take Force Cage. I love it. It synergizes super well with your Bard 14 Unbreakable Majesty slot. I think that that's really, really nice, so definitely take that. Mirage Arcane might be one to take here.
where you can deceive people into, you know, seeing things that aren't there and being able to interact with them, which is pretty cool. I normally don't suggest that spell because it's kind of niche depending on what kind of situation you're trying to build. But it can be cool, and I think that it fits on this one. And of course, Prismatic Spray, just so you've got a little bit of damage there. Then at Bard 14, we get more magical secrets and our Unbreakable Majesty feature. Unbreakable Majesty is probably the best feature that we get on this entire build, so it's fantastic. Really, really good. It makes you super difficult to hit, and so you've got all kinds of things. So they miss you, you Misty Step out of there, or they then give themselves disadvantage on the next saving throw you force them to do. If it's a ranged thing, Misty Step away, so you're now at range, and then blast them with whatever you want to do. So you've got some good options here. I think that there's a lot of synergy that's coming together as we hit these higher levels. So obviously this is a build that works really well at high level. You're not always going to get to high level, because obviously we're at level 16 by the time we're getting something like this, but if you're doing a high level something, this could work out. I think it works really, really well with the Archfey Warlock. For our secret spells, I'm going to suggest 2, but of course you could take any of the others. I like Simulacrum because Simulacrum and Conjure Fey. Conjure Fey is a really, really cool spell, allowing you to summon a pretty powerful creature to help you out, and I think that it's really, really awesome. It's a really good use of your concentration at this level, and you can summon some really cool stuff. Really, really nice. Level 15 for Bard, 17 overall. We get Bardic Inspiration upgraded to a D12, so we're now maxed out, which is great. Dominate Monster, Feeble Mind, Glibness is one that I normally don't recommend, but I'll recommend it here, and Mind Blank, of course, for your 8th level spells. At Bard 16, we're going to bump our Constitution to a 16 as well. So we're doing pretty good on our stats. That is our final one. So we ended up with a 20, an 18, and a 16 in our 3 most important stats, and I think that's pretty good. I really like that. Of course, you could have boosted your Constitution earlier and relied solely on your Unbreakable Majesty feature to make sure that you don't get hit and not worry so much about Dexterity. So that's something to keep in mind. You could bump your Constitution up to an 18 instead of bumping the Dexterity. Definitely an option for you. I think that that's definitely a valid argument. Level 17, Song of Rest up to a D12, and finally we get 9th level spells. Yes, it's late, it's 19th level, but we got there. It's okay. I mean, if you're playing to level 17, you're probably playing to level 19 at that point, so I mean, you know, it's part of it. So I actually would suggest Psychic Scream because it requires a saving throw, and you can literally blow people's heads off. It's a really violent and cool spell at the same time. It does a ton of damage. And of course, Mass Polymorph, True Polymorph. I would take those every time. I think that they're really, really cool. Finally, level 20, Bard 18, Magical Secrets for any 2 spells in the game. My 2 suggestions are Wish. Duh, it's Wish. And the other would actually be Shape Change. I think that Shape Change makes a lot of sense with what we are doing here. It's kind of a wordy spell, but it's somewhat like Polymorph on yourself, but a little different, and a much higher spell slot. But I think it's cool. I think it's a really, really neat spell. I think you should definitely consider it, and if not, pick your favorite. Literally pick any spell you want from any spell list. That's what this is for. So that is our build. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Let's go ahead and go through our honorable mentions before we leave for today, and we'll start with our 2 races that we did not talk about today. There is one race that, in my opinion, was literally made for this subclass, and it's the Satyr. I think the Satyr is a really, really good racial option for this subclass. I really think it was custom made for this. You can just take the default ability score increases and you'll be great, and you get a lot of really cool stuff. You get an unarmed attack with your horns, but who really cares about that? But you're also a Fae, so that works out. You can have advantage against spell saving throws, which is great, and you get so many good things here. Actually, Satyr is definitely the optimal thing, but I wanted to go with something from Wild Beyond the Witchlight for this. Definitely consider the Satyr. And the other is, of course, the Herongon, which is not a Fae creature, but it is from Wild Beyond the Witchlight, and it's a really cool race. I will find a good use for it on a build in the future. I definitely will take the Herringon because it's really fun. My wife is currently working on a Herringon build, and she loves the race. It's really cool. So definitely consider that. As far as feats go, I have several that would work really well on this one. Actor. Of course. Actor on most bards would be great. Actor, especially on this bard, is pretty cool. One I would stay away from, though, is Inspiring Leader. Inspiring Leader, again, is going to conflict with your already 3rd level spell of Mantle of Inspiration. Technically, it scales a little better, but it seems like a wasted feat slot to me. I don't think I would take that there. Instead, Actor is much more viable. Magic Initiate for a couple of more cantrips would be really good. Meta Magic Adept you could get some use out of. I don't think Sorcerer is a great pairing with this subclass, to be honest. I don't think you get enough out of them, enough out of the meta magic options here, so I would just go ahead and take this so that you're not taking it 2 levels in order to get this. I still think it's worth it. And then Telekinetic and Telepathic. You get some really cool stuff out of that as well. And as far as multi-classing options, I actually think that Wizard would give you quite a bit of really cool stuff, specifically the Divination or Enchantment schools. It would make you very multiple ability dependent. Keep that in mind. You probably wouldn't be able to really focus on Dexterity. You'd probably have to put your Dexterity score that we took at the beginning into Intelligence, and then boost your stats like that. So highest stat Charisma, second highest would be Intelligence, and then Constitution. So you're going to get a lot of really good spells that way. You get a spell book, a lot of really cool things that you can do with that. It also would not delay your spell progression, which is something to keep in mind. I mean, and there's a lot of really good spells on the Wizard spell list, and your enchantment and divination features are just really fantastic. You also could take a couple levels of Rogue. Now, if you took a couple levels of Rogue, I probably wouldn't have taken Fey Touched. I probably would switch that out for something else. But Cunning Action is amazing, and you can do a little bit of extra damage with your sneak attack. This really isn't much of a damaging bard, but I mean, you could get a little bit of extra damage, an extra D6 in there. That's basically Hex, which I didn't even suggest that we take, but that's basically Hex on there anyway. So yeah, you've got some options in there. So I think that all of those would work really well. So that is all for today's video. Next week, we are going to be talking about the College of Lore Bard. If you want to be a librarian singer, then this is your ticket. So make sure to check that video out. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss when that comes out. And of course, click the bell for notifications so you don't miss it. Until then, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe out there, stay healthy, and we will see you later. Bye-bye.